What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 48 of the Halving Report podcast with myself, your host, Brad Mines. The price of Bitcoin is approximately $42,000 at this time on May 20th. The next block reward halving is not set to occur for well over 1,000 days, most likely sometime in 2024. We've seen a crypto massacre happen over the past week or so as prices tumbled down from their all-time high ranges. Many believe this to have been caused by Elon Musk tweeting that Tesla no longer accepts Bitcoin for payments. Others believe is the actions of China, and some think all of these things combined with tax season created the perfect environment for a big correction. I encourage you all to flex your diamond hands, hold for the long term, and keep dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin and maybe a few other blue chip cryptocurrencies. However, I am not a financial advisor, nor is this financial advice. Today, we welcome Nam Sardar to the show. Nam is often outspoken online as she touts Monero as the perfect cryptocurrency and why we need financial privacy more than ever in today's society. Let's get to it. So I thought we could start by giving the listeners a little bit of context, and I could just ask you a little bit about your background, your early life, and education.
Okay, thanks for having me. This is great. I was looking forward to it, and I'm glad we finally got our times to match. My early background. So my parents moved. We're Indian. My mom and dad are Indian, and they moved from India to the Middle East in the early 1970s. So I was raised in the Middle East in a country called Oman. The capital city, it's called Muscat. So I did literally from kindergarten to 12th grade there. At 18, I moved to the US. I went to Georgia. I did my undergrad there, University of Georgia. So I was there till 2002, late. When I graduated, and then I moved to Spain after that. So I was doing a master's there, and I ended up working there for a few years. So, and I spent about 5 years in the US, almost 4.5, close to 5, and then another 5 something in Spain. So I was outside of Oman for about, I would say 10, 11 years. And then for the last 2010 to Oman again because of work situation. So after the financial crisis of 2008, 2009, the repercussions in Spain were pretty obvious by 2009ish. So 2009, I was just I decided to leave and go back to the Middle East because things were growing, and the Middle East was a really it was a growth region, and I was thinking I should get serious about my career and serious about making money, because in Spain I was making next to nothing. I actually quit a higher paying job, a better job in Oman that I had, after my master's I started working in Oman for about a year and then transferred to Spain. So yeah, I actually took sort of a lesser opportunity, but just because I wanted to live there. But then at some point I said, I got to get serious about my career. And I think, that's kind of when I said I need to go back there and get a serious job. And things were serious in Spain. It's not like it wasn't serious. It's just I don't think I didn't see myself having the growth that I could have had back in the Middle East. So anyway, so I went back about 2010, and I've been working for the Sovereign Wealth Fund doing downstream oil and gas financial analysis. And yeah, that's kind of what I still do.
What did you do your
I know you asked
master's
for
in?
early life, but
Yeah.
I just kind of gave you a short.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's a good introduction.
So MBA finance. And
you read a blog as well?
And no, not really. I mean, I did, but it was a long time ago. Right, I stopped writing that blog in I don't know, 2009, maybe 10, something like that. It just I started out writing a travel blog because I was traveling a little bit, and then it was also when I was moving back to Spain, to work, not as a student, and then it became a little more environmental, political. It was just my views in those days, and I look back sometimes and I'm like, oh my God, that was me. I actually thought those things. I was not like there's anything wrong with it. It's just, you see yourself growing when I read some of that stuff I used to write. I was encouraged by a friend who also moved to Spain like me. And she's actually paid to travel blog. So she had like a really, she was like, Nam, you should write. I was like, okay, let me give it a shot, and then I just basically started putting my thoughts out there, thinking nobody's going to read it. But a few people did, and I got some feedback. So I kept going for a few years, but that blog is basically defunct. I realized it's still on my Twitter bio, and I left it there because I hadn't used Twitter in a long time. And when I came back to it, last year, I came back to Twitter after a few years like of not even having, not having looked at it. I realized it was still there. Then I said, you know what, I used to write, so that's kind of a little bit of me. So I just left it there.
Now, one of the reasons I reached out to you is because it's rare I see people in the crypto space that share commonalities as I do, like practice yoga, eat plant-based. And I was wondering like how, if you could describe how you kind of came into this lifestyle, and have you always been this way, or is this something that you discovered that you wanted to do recently, or kind of how that played out there?
Yeah, so that's interesting. As far as plant-based, I've been plant-based all my life. So I was raised like that, in a vegetarian home. So that's where that comes from. As far as yoga and all of the other stuff like that I am involved in, it really started out seriously in about 2012, 13. So it was after the birth of my older son that well, I started getting more into meditation then. I've been doing yoga most of my life. My mom's a yoga teacher. She's a meditation teacher. I would say it's always been part of my life, but it got it became a bigger part of my life as a coping mechanism to some of the stuff I was dealing with related to my older son's health and those issues. And those were, for me in my life, that was a pretty important, marker in the before and after who I was, and then who I became and who I am today. There was a lot of growth that happened, personally. And, whenever there's personal growth, it's a difficult period for people. You have to, it's how they say, iron has to be heated to extreme temperatures till it becomes steel, and then it becomes more valuable. So it's that process, I think, in life where you just undergo a lot of pain I think I've become a better person after all of that stuff that happened to me. But so yoga became a pretty important part of my life during that phase, A lot of people would have, I would say, like, I would imagine would have sort of fallen on, would have taken support of antidepressants and things like that. I didn't take a single one of those things. My mom just kept pushing me to go to meditation, like, like gatherings, and not gatherings, like they're like, so this is like a week-long thing. You just go meditate in like this really quiet place in the south of India, or like I would do other yoga related stuff. So I just kept going for stuff like that, and then it just kind of became part of my life. But I think it was a whole it was like a whole 3, 4, maybe almost 5 years of really challenging times that it got me through. And then I stuck with it because I just like it. It's just like days when I'm not stretching, when I'm not doing, like when I'm not isolating myself a little bit from the world, and taking time for myself, then I don't feel like myself, so it's just become part of me over time. But it started out as, in a long answer to what you asked, it started out as something that helped me through difficult times. Yeah.
Was it common in your community that everyone ate plant-based, or were you an isolated icehold, or was everybody in your community kind of plant-based?
So India is actually a country. So my parents originate in India, right? So India is a country which has a lot of plant-based eaters, so a lot of vegetarian people. I think per capita, if you look at number of people, if you look at population, then you look at completely plant-based or like very low animal consumption. India has a lot of dairy, so there's no vegan in India. I think, that's just a completely Western concept. I'm not a vegan. I don't think I could ever be one.
Mm.
Um, it's just not, I think people stick to what they grow up with and what they're used to. And it's so hard to break away from that unless your habits are, inherently unhealthy. But if you're a healthy meat eater, then it's, why would you sacrifice something and go through that physical pain, mental pain, unless of course you can. I mean, I don't think it's an easy thing. So for me, it's never been about getting to that point. It was always just, I was born like that and I was raised like that, so eating meat was out of the question for me. I just didn't want it. I think I made the conscious decision to be vegetarian when I was 6, so like nothing was imposed on me. My mom was always open. She would be like, you can eat what you want. So I remember I actually have a distinct memory. It's still in my head. I think I was probably 6 at that time, and we were at a dinner party at my parents' friend's house. They were also Indian, but a lot of other Indian people, they eat meat. So I remember the lady was serving all the kids, because the kids got in line to eat first, and then then I think the men, and then the women. That's kind of how it goes. So we were all in line, like with a plate, and then she was about to put some chicken onto my plate, and I asked my mom was standing right behind me. I was like, Mom, should I eat that? And then she's like, you can if you want, but you need to know what it is. And then she explained that it was a bird and everything. And then she asked me, do you want it? And I said, no, I don't want that. So I kind of just, decided at that point that I was vegetarian. And I think I just stuck with that. So it's not something I've, grown into or anything like that.
So if someone were to ask you, why are you plant-based? Is it, you say, it's for the animals, for the environment, or how do you approach that question?
I say it's cultural.
Cultural.
It's just how I grew up. Yeah.
Right. Now, obviously, you're someone who likes to travel. You're in Mexico right now, and are you vacationing there, or are you living there?
I'm working. I work at, I work in Oman. I actually have a full-time job, like a 9 to 5. But we've been having these pretty stringent lockdowns. And as you know, I mean, everything began last year, March 2020. Since then, so my older son doesn't live with me. My younger son, who does live with me, he is literally living like an only child, right? And he gets really isolated. So since March last year, their school has been, I think in 2020, they almost didn't have school. The kids, they've been home most of the year. And this year, they're really pushing the whole computerized education, like Zoom classes and everything. And, it's my view is that that's not good for the kids. So, and at such a young age, like he's 6 years old. So I've been observing him and trying to, I've put him in, like I've elongated his nursery as long as I could, because the nursery kids still go to school. So he's had maybe a few months of school this year in 2021, but most of last year he had no school. And then they brought in, like from April 2nd or 4th or something, they brought in these lockdowns where there was no more school for the kids. I don't think they're going to go back to school until after the end of summer. When I was like, oh my God, the kid's going to be home for the next like 3-4 months. He's going to lose his mind after being home almost all of last year. So that was something that was really getting to me. Work-wise, I don't have I'm not like one of these digital nomads that can work from anywhere, not yet. I'm trying to get there, but for now, with my job, I was just in the office. People in my team were rotating, so we said, let me do all these weeks in the office, and then I'll just be working from home. So working from home can just be, right now, it's from anywhere in the world, right? So that's kind of why, I just had all this accumulated work from home thing. So I just took off, and then we had public holidays where I live. So I just got a little bit of time, basically 3 weeks in May. which is why I'm here. I came to Mexico. I've been curious about Mexico while I lived here in the US. Like here, while I lived in the US, I didn't get a chance to visit. So, and I didn't speak Spanish then. So now that I speak Spanish because I lived in Spain, I just kind of, feel like, oh, it's a culture that attracts me, that I like, that I kind of want to get to know. I wanted to get to know this region because I feel it's very yoga friendly and it's vegetarian friendly. Also, when I'm traveling, I need to travel to places where I can, find food because I love eating.
What other places around the world are appealing to you?
So I'm actually thinking of taking, like a sabbatical at some point, and moving to Southeast Asia.
Okay.
Yeah, I've traveled through that region a little bit. I like it. I think it's really safe for a woman by herself, for kids. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I keep meeting and running into people that have been living in Bali and others that like Thailand and other places in Southeast Asia, or that they're just arriving from there, recently, and they're like, Bali's way better than here. They're telling me, they're like, there's literally no mask. So I'm one of those COVID deniers. I don't believe anything that's on the mainstream. So I just want to be away from this whole obsessive, like, conversation about vaccines and,
yeah.
all this medical drama that's going on. I just want to get away from it all. It just, it gets my energy levels down. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just everything, every time I'm at work and there's conversations, like every time I don't know, I cannot even enter conversations like that anymore. It's just, I like excuse myself with any excuse and go away.
Yeah.
So I'm having a hard time dealing with the intensity of it all. And I really feel like for my mental well-being, I need some isolation. So we'll see. But yeah, Southeast Asia, to answer your question, is something that it's a region I love.
A lot of people tell me Southeast Asia is where it's at. I did go to Thailand. I was at the blockchain conference in Thailand, blockchain cruise conference. They stopped in Phuket, Thailand, and I was there for the day. I saw a few people speak. John McAfee, I think, was there speaking, and a couple other people. Yeah, it was pretty cool. But yeah, Thailand is absolutely amazing. Our dollar goes so far there. Even the Canadian dollar goes very far there. So I mean, it's a good place to.
You're in Canada.
Yeah, I'm in Canada. Like you, I work a 9 to 5 here, like you. But I'm just, collecting my cryptocurrency and want to make that nomad escape, sort of like you. So Southeast Asia is somewhere that I look at often for options to travel. I also look at Latin America options as well, just because it's easier to access home if I want to come home for some reason, where it takes like a day or a day and a half to get to the other side of the world over there in Asia. That's the only downfall for me. I would much rather go to Southeast Asia than anywhere else, but just being so far from home sometimes makes me think I should choose the Caribbean or something else. Maybe you could give us your introduction into Bitcoin and or cryptocurrency. Like, how did you come across this space? I know you said you're an investor of all types. I'm kind of wondering like how you got into crypto and what do you allocate your investments? Like what percentage do you go into crypto in comparison to traditional assets?
That's a good question. I've never really done so in order to understand that, I would have to plot out, what I have in real estate, what I have maybe in metals, which is not much, and what I have in crypto. Obviously, the crypto portfolio compared to what I have invested has grown. It's really grown a lot because I feel like the crypto market just keeps growing. It's
definitely,
metals don't grow like that. Real estate doesn't grow like that. Nothing grows except for crypto. It feels like the only thing that grows. So that's a good thing. So I guess, when you look at the pie, the crypto portion of the pie just keeps getting larger, which means the other portions of the pie get smaller.
Yes.
So that's what's happened with me. It's not necessarily like I put that much more in crypto. It's just, it's grown, right? So I discovered crypto about a year ago. So I'm basically a noob. to the space. It's not like I hadn't heard of Bitcoin. I had, but I just move around in these circles that is the typical, circle that just um, dismisses that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And only until now, like now, and I think partially because I talk about it, people around me have started to look into crypto seriously, and some are
Mm-hmm.
investing. I've heard people around me are investing now.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, at least they're dipping into it, I'm taking it more seriously, I think,
Mm-hmm.
than most others around me. Um, so yeah, so I discovered Jeff Berwick's videos at the start of the COVID crisis, and one thing he said in one of his videos just stuck in my mind, and he said something like, all of you, well, he's really frank, and he's really honest about the way he comes across, and he's like, all you idiots that are still using fiat, you're supporting you're supporting wars, you're subsidizing genocide, and you're basically part of the largest criminal organization in the world by but just by using this Ponzi called fiat and all that stuff. And I was like, what is he talking about, and how can that be? Like, like, it's his money, it's all I knew. I hadn't really thought about these things. And that's obviously when the rabbit hole began, and I just went crazy, like, for a couple of months, reading. And when I start reading, I get obsessed. Like, I'm an obsessive personality when I want to get into something. So I just read like a maniac, and like, before I knew it, I literally took all my fiat that was sitting in a savings account, and I dumped it all into crypto. Less than 2 months, but after I discovered, like, I first discovered
Yeah.
and went, like,
Yeah.
started the rabbit hole. My rabbit hole didn't end at Bitcoin, it ended at Monero. So that's kind of maybe the slight difference that would happen with most people,
Mm-hmm.
because and with me, I guess, a lot of people would enter Bitcoin first. I didn't. I just went straight into Monero. Like, once I knew what it was like, this was just so obvious, right? So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always admire people that have that philosophy of financial privacy and sovereignty and upholding fungibility as a currency trait. So that's really awesome. I'm also a Monero fan as well. And I've always seen it in like the top 20 market cap on Coin Market Cap when I go there and look around. It took me a while to kind of dive in after seeing so many different privacy advocates in the space, and some of the early people in Bitcoin kind of keep that philosophy. What is it that you like about Monero, and do you see the privacy aspect of it as a hindrance to mainstream adoption?
Yeah. So I appreciate that, that you're looking into Monero and that you keep an open mind to it. I really appreciate that. You follow me on Twitter. So if you haven't unfollowed me, that means you you see the value, I guess, in Monero, because I talk about it a lot. It's hard for me not to talk about Monero, because I do believe in it. It's something I'm passionate about, because I feel like Bitcoin was a brilliant prototype, but that's what it was. It was a prototype. The perfected cryptocurrency is Monero, and I'll tell you what I like about it. I like that obviously it's a completely decentralized ledger, so you have individuals like you and me that can still mine Monero. Now, if you take kind of like your average laptop that's not Monero optimized, because I think there's this machine called Rider. There's so Mike Leonard from and some of the other Monero guys, they're so good. They can help. They can literally point you to the right machine, which will optimize your Monero mining to the max. But even if you take like a shitty old laptop that you're not using, and you just literally like let it sit in some corner of your house mining, in a couple of months you can, if I'm not mistaken, in a couple of months you have you have half a Monero. Or at least a few months ago, that was kind of how you were getting half a Monero in a couple of months. I don't think that's bad, given what Monero's potential is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not looking at its market price right now. I'm looking at the potential that it has. So what I like about it is that so anybody can mine it, and when you have hundreds of thousands of people mining it around the world, that is a truly decentralized cryptocurrency to me, versus companies and multi-million-dollar mining farms that literally are regulated and have, like accounting books. They've got an income statement, they've got shareholders, they've got
Mm-hmm.
a lot of electricity consumption, and they're not obscure. So when I say obscure, it's like literally how many people's basements are they going to raid if they want to stop Monero mining? It's not possible, right? They can't do that. Bitcoin, well, they just have to raid a few companies, and it's just getting harder and harder to set up even a small Bitcoin mining farm, just because it's so expensive with all these ASICs. So I feel like that, and when I entered crypto, that was already the case. So that was something that disappointed me about Bitcoin and attracted me to Monero, because I was like, okay, you're looking. So the whole essence of cryptocurrencies is you want a non-government issued currency that has a supply schedule that's fixed, and it doesn't need to be capped. And even if Bitcoin were to, if let's say Bitcoin is the gold standard and the capped cryptocurrency, where you have the number 21 million that stands out as sort of like this gold standard number, where every other crypto maybe doesn't have the same supply schedule. The way I see it is that 21 million is attained in the year 2140. We're talking 120 years from now. To me, that's as good as the Monero supply, because when you look at Monero, and I don't know if you saw one of those graphs, the supply schedule of Monero is more scarce until 2040 than even Bitcoins, because per block you're getting less Monero than you're getting Bitcoin. And I think it's 3 and then it's 3.25, something like that. Mm-hmm. So overall, annually, you have a lower supply. And then you have this infinite tail emission. And I think that's a good thing. If that wasn't there, nobody would sell their Monero for goods and services. And the whole point of a cryptocurrency, and I really believe in the original ethos of the original white paper, the Bitcoin white paper, that this is a peer-to-peer cash, digital cash. You gotta sell and buy goods and services with a cryptocurrency for it to be a cryptocurrency. If you're just gonna buy it one time and hold on to it, hoping everybody else does the same, you're not buying a cryptocurrency. You're buying something else. So that's another thing I like about Monero, that I really, really, really like the tail emission. I think that's a great thing. It's something that's going to help us spend the Monero. And we do, people in the Monero community are like, I bought some stuff with it. Like, stupid stuff, like stickers or whatever, but like I buy stuff with it, like I buy a VPN.
Right. You can do that. You can do that without getting charged an astronomical fee too, right?
Exactly. That's another thing. Mm-hmm. The fees is, it's like a couple of cents. So right. There's a lot of, and I'm not a technical person, but I can see that there's a lot of things that if I had to hold on to one cryptocurrency for the long term, that would be it, for so many reasons. The mining is decentralized. Obviously, it's private. The sender, the receiver, and the amounts are completely obscured. So you see the number of transactions, but you don't see who's sending them, who's receiving them, and how much. And I think that is beautiful. That preserves all of our integrity financially. We don't want to be observed. It's nobody else's business to watch what I'm doing, what I'm spending my money on, and I see a lot of people in other, crypto communities with transparent chains saying, oh, if you really want privacy, if it's a matter of life and death, well, it should be, It should be. Like, I don't think that's even a question. Ever since I started to sort of understand the level of surveillance that we as humans are subjected to, it's become more important to me. So I think it's important to people who've gone down that surveillance rabbit hole and they end up with Monero rather than anybody else. Because if you just go down the whole central banking is screwing us over rabbit hole, that's fine. And you want something that's scarce and that's like a digital gold, and that makes a lot of sense. But if you go down the other rabbit hole, which is surveillance and how that's going to impact all of us and our future generations, then you will end up with something that's going to, you know, preserve that privacy for you. And literally there's only one product on the market that does its job like it promises to. I don't think the other cryptos that, you know, promise privacy they're not default private. Like Zcash, I think, would be the number one competitor. So
right. Yeah, and I was actually going to ask you, because I think it was the last guy I had on said that he likes Zcash better than Monero for what it's trying to be. So is Monero better than Zcash, or how do you see that?
I don't know a lot about Zcash, to be honest. A lot of people in the Monero community, you know, I respect the Monero community so much because they know more about other currencies than even the people in those coins. Like, they know way more. If I have to ask something and I have to get some information, I'll ask a Monero person because they're just like the most brilliant minds that I've met. So that's another thing I love about Monero. I think it's just full of the smartest people, I think, on the planet. That's one. But Zcash is only optional privacy. It's not default privacy. That's the main differentiator between Zcash and Monero, which I think just makes it, to me, it makes it far, far inferior to what Monero does.
Right. And actually, I saw a chart recently where it was showing how many private transactions were happening, and it was comparing all the privacy coins, and it's not even a question. Monero is just by far has the most private transactions happening because there's no choice. Whereas when there's given choice, it's I guess proven that you know the majority is always going to be transparent, right?
I think I might have seen that chart. Zcash and maybe, I don't know if Dash is even considered private, but I saw some of them. It was like you could barely see them on the chart. I think Justin made that graphic. It was brilliant, and it was all Monero, the actual transactions.
Now I'm just looking at the price of Monero. We're looking at $375 US, down about 5% in the past 24 hours. Where do you see Monero going this cycle in terms of price and market cap in comparison to other cryptocurrencies? I see it kind of go from 10th to 20th and kind of in that range, but now it's fallen a little bit further, I do believe. So just want to ask you, where do you see it going long term, but I guess this cycle specifically?
So my view is that this cycle doesn't have very, very long. I think we might see one or two major like shoot-offs led by Bitcoin and then the alts. And then I think the whole thing will bust. I wrote about it in that pinned thread that I have on my profile. Monero could possibly touch 1,000. I would say maybe 800 or so. I think it can easily break through its all-time high and go towards the 600-700s. I think by the end of 2021 and 2022, we could easily start seeing Monero like really shoot off into the 2,000-3,000 range. But I think this year we might see it around 1,000 at the end of the year. That's kind of where I see it. Market cap wise, Monero's, you know, it's relatively, it's a baby. Like, I haven't been checking every day, like, and that's another thing. I don't even look at my Monero. It's almost like it doesn't exist. I don't track it. I don't do anything. It's just something. When I discovered the kind of so I'm just backing up a little bit. Last year when I discovered, you know, Jeff Berwick's videos, and I discovered the state of the world that we're living in, I was immediately concerned for my children. And I was like, I mean, you know, imagine if you have doomsday scenario, right? And your cash in your CBDC account is fully surveilled and you want to get out of the system. You don't want to be part of the whole living in a glass, like a glass fish tank, literally, because that's what they want. They want us to live in these tiny, like, housing communities, high rise, in smart cities, completely observed, even to the point where your thoughts are observed, unrecorded. Like if you look at the WEF, life in 2030, whatever, their thoughts are being recorded, their temperature is being recorded every few minutes, everything that is to be human is being documented on some digital server or the other. I don't want that life for my children. I don't want that life for myself, for anybody I care about. Like, I don't care if other people want to live that life, that's up to them, but I think there should be an option to opt out. So I started doing a lot of thinking about these things, and I was like, what would happen in such a scenario, when we're either in or out of such a lifestyle sort of thing. And things seem to just go that way. There's not much that you can do. And so then Monero started to make a lot of sense to me, just directly, like, because you're like, okay, what happens if I move out to some isolated island or some little community somewhere, and we need a currency and we don't have one, and something that actually has value and that can be transacted privately and this and that. And that's just why Monero makes sense to me. So Monero to me is doomsday currency. I don't know if other people in Monero share that opinion. I've never had that conversation with anybody else. I think a lot of Monero people, I think Monero is just full of all kinds of people. You have a lot of like staked followers. You have ANCAPs like me. You have lots of people, but my sort of inclination, I don't even look at the price. I don't look at the market cap. I'll watch it, like I'll be like, oh, okay, it's gone up, looks nice, and then maybe comment on something, but I'm not observing it closely. That's not a crypto I observe because I don't plan to sell. Not that I have any Monero, nobody has Monero, right? But something like a Polkadot or something like a Cardano, I'll be watching the price really, really closely, because like I want to get out, I want to sell, I want to get my profits. Like I want to, I'm calculative towards all of those coins, which honestly, they're not close to my heart. They don't mean anything to me. They're just a money-making mechanism. So I just do all of that short term, I guess, short to medium term. That's my strategy. I thought about it a lot after I saw some tweets from Nick Szabo, and I was thinking, so these are centralized, they're transparent, they're no good to anybody, I think, long term. But anyway, if it goes up and people are buying it, it's the whole number go up thing, right? You just buy where the number goes up. And there's a lot of crypto where the number goes up even more than Bitcoin, as I am yet to, write about. I was going to write about it, but I just haven't gotten around to it. But yeah, so coming back to Monero, I don't watch the price really.
Well, that's a healthy way to live. It's a very healthy way, because it's not healthy to be staring at it 24/7 and living your every moment with that emotion. So and you tend to find the price has gone up a lot more when there's more time in between, right? So
exactly.
That being said, then you see a matter of time before a different cryptocurrency flips Bitcoin?
I really don't want Ethereum to flip Bitcoin. that would be heartbreaking. Like that would be horrible. If it comes to Ethereum and Bitcoin, I want Bitcoin to be king. Because I think Ethereum's just, I wouldn't call it a scam, but I think it's just short of that. But obviously, like, I think utility-wise, the actual usage that you would to one of them is Monero. Like, I think Monero is the one that's actually being used, which is why I said recently that if we compare transactions from one wallet to another, leaving out any transactions involving exchanges, I think that would really show or be a pretty good indicator of the utility of the cryptocurrency. Apparently, it's hard to do that, so we're not able to. But I think the number of transactions right now, Monero is doing 10% of Bitcoin's actual volume, in terms of daily transactions. Now, imagine if you were to separate out all the Bitcoin transactions that went exchange to wallet or wallet to exchange or exchange to exchange, and you just move those out of the equation, and you just looked at wallet to wallet transactions between individuals, non-exchange wallets. I think that would be such an amazing comparison of when you did the same thing with Monero. And then I think you would have a percentage of Monero transactions that would be way, way, way higher than 10% of Bitcoin's daily transactions. In fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if it was in absolute numbers higher, because really Monero is dominating now. It's taking over with the dark nets. It's taking over really any transaction that happens between people. I think everyone's moving to Monero. So the organic growth in Monero is staggering. It's outstanding. And I think that is the only thing that matters really at the end of the day. That's the only number that that anybody thinking of investing in crypto should be looking at. What's the utility, what's the usage of this thing? And number is going to go up, price is going to go up for crypto that other people want, and that happens to be Bitcoin. So I think eventually in the longer term, the only thing that can dethrone Bitcoin and sustain it, and it would be meaningful, is Monero. I see that happening in a few years' time, like not yet. I think the market is not ready. I think that the information, the knowledge is not out there. And I think Monero awareness is being suppressed in some ways. I don't think they talk about it. They call it untraceable cryptocurrency if they ever make a mention in mainstream news as well. Like they'll never say the Monero word, the M word.
Right.
So, right. and you know that that's an indication that this is the reason that this is because it works, right? Because it actually does what it promises. And the beauty is it's actually doing what it promises today, not some future day, like at some point in the future where, so like Lightning, for example, in Bitcoin, a lot of people think Lightning is providing even today the privacy that transactions should be having, but it doesn't. There's I think at least 3 or 4 studies, research papers that I've read, and I think there's more that talk about all the back end access to transactions that Lightning is not able to curtail. There's not perfect privacy in Lightning, and that's as of today, right? And we've had Lightning working for how many years? And the thing is, the thing that bothers me is that you have a functioning solution today. And so when you keep saying there's going to be a future date when there's going to be a perfect solution, you're discounting the fact that there is already a perfect solution. And if you were actually looking for a solution, you would gravitate to the existing solution, instead of saying, no, my coin's going to become all perfect and all good at some point. And I think that's just silly. It's like bag bias, right? I just did the CFA level 3 exam. I don't know if you're familiar with the CFA. I didn't clear it, but there was a lot of behavioral finance, and there's like 25 different types of biases that investors have. So if you want to just call it a bag bias in crypto terms, but there's cognitive bias, there's a whole bunch of biases. And I think we see demonstration after demonstration of that sort of in the Bitcoin space. I'm trying to just stay away from it now. I don't like to get involved in these sort of headbutts. Right. I don't think it leads to anything. Yeah. I think it's just time's going to tell what happens. Yeah. Let's just leave it to the market, right? The market is the best deciding factor.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, it's so fun to watch the markets play out. I think there's a scenario where there's a market for all types of different coins. I mean, Bitcoin was first of its kind. We've seen thousands of more cryptocurrencies. I do share the same sentiment in your belief in Monero. And one of the other things that is reassuring to me within Monero is the amount of development that is going towards there. I don't know like how how accurate this is, but on CoinGecko, it ranks them as one of the highest coins in terms of how many developers are contributing to the source code, and that's obviously a big factor of decentralization, right? And I think decentralization is some sort of spectrum where Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency, but we were able to have more decentralized algorithms in the future.
As the third number of developers after Bitcoin
Is
and
it?
Ethereum.
Is it third? Wow. And see, that's
I
pretty
read about
big.
that, yeah.
And that's pretty big considering it's 27th in market cap right now in Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then it jumps all the way down to the 27th coin, right? So that says a lot,
It just
right?
shows, yeah, it says how undervalued it is. I mean, anybody in their right mind
Mhm.
should be stacking Monero,
Mhm.
like literally. That's yeah. But
Yeah,
I'm
and I
not
think
telling anybody what they should buy.
right.
There's no investment advice here.
No, this is not. Although yeah, and I was talking to Doug Tooman, the Monero Talk host, and he thinks Monero should be 5 to 10% of all market cap. He think that's like a fair share of Monero and in this ecosystem, which is it's pretty interesting to see the people that do own Monero are such believers in it and back what they say. And I think he owns like 100% of his cryptocurrency in Monero, or like a large portion of it or something like that, which I would never do. But
I want to add one thing there.
yeah.
I feel like Monero investors, people who just have Monero, I feel like they get a bit sad because Monero price works a lot like a stable coin, like lately, right? It's gone up a little bit, but when you want to see your cryptocurrency portfolio go up and you have everything in Monero, you're just not going to be that happy because the price is not reflective of the value that the coin is. So it doesn't matter how much you believe in it. I think I'm not giving investment advice. It's investment opinion only. I feel like if you have a little bit of your portfolio in coins that do go up, like popular coins that have popular sort of father figures like Charles Hoskinson for ADA Cardano, like that guy for Chainlink. I don't remember his name, but so you have these people that there's not going to be a rug pull, even though Chainlink keeps dumping on the what do you call it, the founders like the founders credit. They keep dumping that on the market. They've been dumping it for so long. And you keep having these types of things, but at the end of the day, you kind of have a few coins that have reputations and like people with kind of reputations to uphold. So you wouldn't expect a rug pull, whereas you could expect a rug pull in almost any cryptocurrency that you pick out, from the 6,000 or how many ever there are right now. So if invest in a few of the good ones, like the top 20, top 30 ones, they're all going to go up. I haven't seen any coin that, every single coin that I have ever had that I've sold has gone up after I've sold it. That's one of the learnings that I had in my 1 year of being in crypto. And I was going to write about it, that anything I ever sold, even if it was something shitty like Tron, it went up after that,
Right.
So it was all about it was a matter of holding it long enough and everything just goes up, right? So I don't know if it's Justin's son or what his name is, but as long as you have these centralized coins with like father figures or like the sort of like the CEO types that are well known and they've got like a reputation to uphold, you'll be fine holding that coin because it's not going to be a rug pull, it's all going to go up. Now, how much it goes up versus Bitcoin, I think that's something people have to see. But I think definitely don't hold, do what you want, but with your money. But if you have all your investment in Monero, then you're not going to see the kind of number go up action, right? You're not going to get those happy moments where you're like, oh my God, I woke up to, I don't know, like a 15% increase in my portfolio size. So that usually doesn't happen.
Right.
It does sometimes.
Yeah. My concern with investing into altcoins is I don't want to end up with less Bitcoin at the end of the day. I don't want my altcoin to, if I, because I feel like all cryptocurrencies are going up in comparison to the dollar, because the dollar is the ultimate shit coin and it just keeps going very quickly to nothing.
Yeah.
Like my only concern is like I don't want to buy a coin that I think Bitcoin is just going to outperform, and then I have less Bitcoin at the end of the day. So even though, so I'm trying to look at it that way. So Nam, what are your thoughts on Dogecoin, meme coins, and this extravaganza we're seeing this bull run right now?
Dogecoin, that it's similar to fiat. It's unlimited supply, centralized. There's really no tokenomics, the things that you would look for in something that's a currency. Yeah, maybe transaction cost is low as an energy utilization, as Elon Musk was talking about. I don't know if that's enough. I mean, I feel like it's a joke and it's not become any more serious than it may have started out as. So I still feel like it's a joke. I just never took that sort of thing seriously. I know some people I know started buying a little bit of Doge, but
yeah,
I haven't bought any. But hey, before we talked about, before you got into this, you made a point, and I've been wanting to just say something about it. And you said when you talk about altcoins, you wonder if getting into altcoins prevents you from having less Bitcoin. And my limited experience in 1 year has been so. And I just want to quickly mention this because I think this is interesting. So let's say I could have bought 1 Bitcoin in May last year, hypothetically, right? The price was around 9,300 or so when I got in. After a year of the growth in crypto, whatever has happened, I now have, like, with all the coins that I went into over the year, including all the mistakes I made. I'm not saying I'm like a great investor or anything. I'm actually new. I'm actually making mistakes every day. But despite, like, being sort of, so inexperienced, I actually doubled my Bitcoin equivalent in crypto terms, right? So when I look at what I have now, so let's say I could have, afford to buy 1 Bitcoin last May. And let's say I could, maybe buy a little more over time. Let's just say for rounding, it's 1, right? Over like, let's say a 2 or 3 month period when I was putting in money. So that 1 has become 2 at current Bitcoin prices.
Oh, okay. Well,
you know what I mean? So
yeah, definitely. So you've made trades and plays that has resulted in you having more Bitcoin at the end of the day, which is
right. So what I haven't really traded that much, but yeah, I guess, what I'm trying to say is the combination that I don't know if it was coincidence or luck or whatever, but I don't think it was, because like everything's going up. This is what I was trying to tell you earlier, that everything I've sold it too soon. Like my Cardano, I sold it recently, all of it. I think around 160, and today it's at 220 or something.
Yeah.
I just don't want to look at the screen anymore. It's one of the reasons I just don't look at the price after I sell. I just don't want to see what's happening. Because like everything goes up even after you sell it.
Yeah, and same thing with me with Cardano. I owned it at like 12 cents and sold it in like 16 or 17 cents or something silly like that. So it's tough to look at it. And I looked at it all through 2018, all through 2019. It was sitting at like 2 cents the entire time. I didn't really pick it up until it started going a little bit. So that was a tough one for me to look at too. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's it could be done a lot easier in the bull market when altcoins are going 10x, 20x, 30x, where Bitcoin, you have this slower gradual wealth. I guess for myself and just personally, I don't really do the day trading. I do my 9 to 5 business throughout the day, so I'm not really making moves. I don't want to depend on having to stop what I'm doing to make a trade throughout the day. So I look at coins that I want to hold long term, and then I just hold them long term. And so I guess maybe that's why my fear of if they don't outperform Bitcoin, I'll have less Bitcoin. But yeah, you're right in what you say in that a lot of these altcoins with superior aspects are certainly outperforming Bitcoin. It's just a matter of choosing the right ones, right, and not getting into these shit dog coins or dog shit coins, whatever you want to call them.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
I do
So,
think, and coming back to Doge,
mhm,
because I jumped back to this,
yeah.
and then after that you asked me about the meme coins. I do think Doge at some point will crash, like in a bad way.
Hmm.
I mean, I just have a
Yeah.
feeling it's got nothing to do with any
Right.
kind of analytical work
Hmm.
that I might have done. It's just what I think.
But
Yeah.
do you think having Elon Musk just continuously pump it is enough for a coin like Doge to just continually stay relevant over the years? Even if it does crash, will we see it resurge next bull run? Will it continue to make new all-time highs, do you think? Or do you think it just it ends up crashing and burning?
Uh, Um, so anytime you have somebody like Elon Musk, supporting something like a Doge, whatever he might support, I think it's going to
Hmm.
go up.
Hmm.
So it really, he's a single driver of the entire crypto market. Like you saw what his tweet did the other day. I think as long as he decides to support it, you're gonna you're gonna see the price going up. You're gonna see new
Hmm.
all-time highs. So I think people
Hmm.
being bullish on it while he's bullish, it's just
Hmm.
logical. Those who are invested, but I would not personally. I could put a little bit. I could throw a little bit into it. I don't mind.
Hmm.
I don't have these. Because I'm not a maxi of any type. So I don't have limitations on what I can and cannot invest in. I just put money into like where I think it's going to grow. I do sort of have certain principles when talking about, when I want to see the ideal cryptocurrency and the one that I think everybody should be using. But leaving that aside, um, what I do think is you could possibly start to see some regulatory action against Elon Musk. And I think it's all part of like a big show, a big like sort of this thing that's playing out. Everybody's got a role to play. So they're gonna come in and they're gonna say like, oh, billionaire, you just moved the market with your tweets, and so we're gonna have to shut you down, or we're gonna have to restrict the kind of tweets you can make, and so on and so forth. And that's basically gonna lead to another sort of level of censorship,
Hmm.
censorship on freedom of speech. So I think what they're also concerned about is voices that are dissident, to the system. Um, when they're talking, like imagine someday some billionaire just illuminates and starts talking about Monero nonstop, you know, like he feels enlightened with Monero and he just keeps pumping it, right? I don't know, think about a Chamath or one of these guys. Um, they don't want that happening. So I think they're going to put, like with Doge, I think it's a big joke, but what it's going to serve as, I think, is my gut feeling in the longer term, is censorship, where you're going to start seeing, you're going to see a big, you're going to see hyper swings where a lot of people who invested into Doge, especially at the top, like a lot of people are saying, oh, I just, sold my house and I put everything into Doge and whatever. um,
I hope not. I hope no one's selling
and
their house and putting it all into Dogecoin. I mean, that's
but you would be surprised, people do that sort of thing, right?
yeah, wow.
um when that's scary. So when you have enough people doing crazy things like that because they're just FOMOing in and they're like, oh my god, I'm losing so much by not doing this,
Mhm.
um then if something drastic happens, that's going to create backlash, that's going to create a lot of resentment among people. And I think at that point regulators will come in and say, you billionaire, you're the root cause, you did all of this, and so we're going to shut you down and we're going to limit what you can say and da 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 da. It's all a role play. I don't think any of it is real. Like, it's just, everyone's been handed their little chit, like their little script,
Mhm.
and they have to play it out.
Is it
So I
possibly
think
the
that's what we're seeing.
simulation?
You mean the grand simulation of life?
That's right. Well, I think Elon Musk always
Possibly.
discusses the simulation and potential of parallel universes on Joe Rogan podcasts and all that kind of thing. Uh,
Mm.
I'm gonna open it up for you. If you have any questions for me or final comments or words of wisdoms to the listeners here today.
So I didn't even know much about you. Like, when
Hmm.
did you get into crypto? And,
Yeah.
you
So
know,
so
what's
I
your
got
story? Like, in brief, if you want to tell me.
Yeah, for sure. So I got into crypto in 2017, and I had heard of Bitcoin years prior, and I was just a young guy coming out of university. So I didn't have a whole lot of money to invest. So I started working, started making money, kind of forgot about Bitcoin. Years later, 2017, I found out about it again, or I saw it in a headline when Donald Trump and Kim Jong Un were having this nuclear standoff in the news, and I remember Bitcoin hitting $4,000, and I was like, Bitcoin, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, where have I heard this before? And I started diving deep. I had a friend out in Vancouver who was investing in every single altcoin that was known to man, telling me to get in, and then I got over diversified and kind of got wrecked in the first because I got in right as Bitcoin was moving right to the top at the end of 2017. It crashed. Some of the coins I went to shit. So I pretty much had to start over. But luckily, I had enough conviction to continue to accumulate all through 2018, 2019, 2020. And then, as you know, within the past year, everything's gone up quite a bit. So I've been a
Mm.
big beneficiary of that. I started thinking about podcasting in 2019 just because I was so passionate about the space. I learned in university just how corrupt banks were and how much they just scrape from the bottom of society. They charge
Mm.
the little guy fees, but they don't charge the big guy fees. It's just
Yep.
a broken system. And
Yep.
and then again, the inflation aspect didn't really hit me hard until I got into Bitcoin back in 2017 again. And then I just realized, then I watched a video on YouTube in the first couple of months of into Bitcoin and crypto, Bitcoin under the hood. And it kind of just like broke down how was happening behind the scenes with the code and the ledger and what's happening with Bitcoin. And I'm like, this is exactly what the world needs right now. And I just became
Yep.
super, super passionate about it. And then so I started doing the podcast, and which is one of the best decisions I ever made because I've been able to talk to awesome people, meet people around the world, even though it's remotely. It's super cool even to sit here with you. You're down in Mexico. We're talking about crypto because it's not like I meet people with these similar interests in my everyday life. It's rare to meet these people in real life. But having the internet, I'm so grateful for. Like I said, started doing the podcast, spoken to so many awesome people. And I think my conviction has just gotten stronger. My philosophy is with you when it comes to the privacy. My investment allocation is more heavily weighted in Bitcoin, uh, just because that's where I see most of the money going into for the short period of time, anyways, and safest play, I suppose. But I'm definitely not a maxi of any sort either. But yeah, and like I said, I'm from Canada, near Niagara Falls. Canada is where I live and work. But I love to travel, and I can't wait for this COVID lockdown to end so I can come down to Mexico, Southeast Asia, all those places we spoke about earlier, and explore
Mm.
many other places. And again, I'm grateful for crypto. It's gonna
So I
give
have,
me. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just, you can finish, but I have two more
Yeah.
questions for you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just grateful for the opportunity that crypto is going to give me to be able to live a more fulfilling life, be able to travel, financial freedom,
Mm.
all that jazz. Go ahead.
I think,
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful. Um, so yeah, so I have one question about your name on Twitter and
Yeah.
Instagram. It's Brad Mines. So do you
Yeah.
mind? A, and B, have you
Mhm.
set a timeline for the freedom? Like, have you set some sort of date limitations
Yeah.
for yourself? Because I think that's important when,
Yeah. I think.
how long you want to be in the,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
Go ahead, go
I
ahead.
I stack pretty aggressively. I stack crypto pretty aggressively, mainly blue chip cryptocurrencies. Um, and my timeline I think is more of a price point. So if Bitcoin hits, six figures, I think I'm ready to do some traveling. In the meantime, I think, and right now it's difficult because of COVID. I'm seeing what's going to happen with the vaccines. Like right now, to be able to travel, I need to be able to show that I have a shot within 72 hours. It's complicated. So I'm not in a big rush right now. And the weather's getting really nice in Canada. So I'm not in a big rush to escape right this second. But yeah, it's definitely on a price point. And I think that's going to probably happen in this bull run within the next 4 months, which is awesome to think about, and going to happen really quickly, because it's been such a long 3-4 years holding when nobody was talking about it. I was still buying it. And then, my name, Brad Mines. So funny. My nickname was Mines. My buddies call me Mines because before I even got into cryptocurrency, and that's because my last name is Miner. So Mines just became like a short form thing. And then when I got into crypto, well, Brad Mines just works. So, and I don't do any heavily mining besides on my home computer with the GPU and my CPU. So, which cryptocurrencies do CPU mining, right? And also, and also I do some GPU mining as well. And I actually just started using nicehash.com, and it's an awesome platform that my brother-in-law just told me about. And you basically just plug and play. You download the program, and it will mine with your GPU whatever cryptocurrency is most profitable, and it actually pays you in Bitcoin. So I'm getting like, I don't know what it says right now, but like $3 to $4 American per day right now, just with this one GPU that I have, which is pretty sweet. Like I said, I'm not a huge miner in terms of investing into it or anything like that, but I do some just like hobbying stuff and check out different applications with what I have. But yeah, I think I answered your questions. I tried to anyway.
More to keep up with the name as well.
Exactly. So can you, pardon me?
There's some currencies, like, I don't know if you've heard of the meme coin Monero, the private scarce meme coin. So I don't know the supply, but it's limited. It's like Bitcoin.
Okay.
So it's a limited supply meme coin, fully private, 100% anonymous. And it's got a dog on it.
Oh, of course.
And it's called Monero. It's like this pink token. It's really cute. I had some, I sold it. Big regret, because I think it doubled or tripled. No, actually more than that. I think I bought it like, I don't know, 2-3 cents. And I think it's at, it crossed $1. I think it crossed $2 even. So I should have held on to it. But anyway, I was coming to, like, there's certain coins like these, like little coins that you can mine pretty well, like a lot of people are having a lot of success mining some of these smaller currencies. But if you try and mine a Monero, it takes a while to get like a whole Monero.
Oh yeah,
it takes half a year or something. Yeah,
definitely. But even Monero, I mean, the price has increased quite a bit. And in terms of electricity use compared to what your Monero is worth, it seems to be a good deal to mine still. So that's awesome and super important for adoption. So Nam, can you let us know where to follow you?
I just want to say thanks for taking the time and for following up and getting me to talk to you and asking these questions. That kind of helps me also think about what I feel, because when you vocalize and you speak, I think it builds your conviction too, in a way. But anyway, I just want to say thanks for taking the time to talk to me and for doing this. And yeah, you can find me on Twitter, mostly on Twitter and Instagram at Nam Sardar, NAMSARDAR. I have the same handle for everything, like literally everything in the world. But yeah, that's where you find me. And thank you so much for doing this. I'll be in touch.
Awesome.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Take care.
Ba-bam, another episode of the Halving Report is in the books. If you like our content or just want to support the show, please like the episode, leave us a comment, and subscribe to the show. And if you do want to get involved with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, just check out our show notes and find out how.